Japanese manga is a magnificent aspect of culture. There's probably not a single Japanese person who hasn't read the manga. You may also know some famous works. You should be familiar with some titles among the best-selling manga of all time. Let's take a look at the top 5 in terms of total circulation. In fourth place, two works are tied. Detective Conan, which has a movie adaptation almost every year, has been published up to volume 103. Then there's the hugely popular Naruto in Europe and the United States, with a total of 72 volumes and 250 million copies. In third place is Dragon Ball, 42 volumes in total, with 260 million copies. It has become a globally renowned masterpiece with a live-action movie produced by Hollywood. The second place may be a bit surprising, but it's a well-known work in Japan, Golgo 13. The circulation is 300 million copies, and it has been published up to volume 208. Taking the top spot is One Piece, published up to volume 105. Its circulation is a staggering 510 million copies, 200 million more than the second place. In this era of entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, and video games, the manga continues to be read avidly. One Piece, the manga with the highest circulation, started its serialization in 1997. It has been a long-standing work for 25 years. Even recently, new hit works are being produced. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, which began serialization in 2016, has published a total of 23 volumes, with a staggering 150 million copies in circulation. It ranks 7th in historical circulation figures. Have you noticed something? Each of the manga works introduced so far has an anime version. Moreover, these anime versions are extremely popular. In fact, manga and anime have a closely intertwined relationship. In fact, about 60% of current TV anime is based on manga. Some others are based on novels and other sources. Original anime works make up less than 30% of the total. Therefore, many anime works you know are likely based on manga. In the past, there were more original anime than there are today. Mobile Suit Gundam, which started airing on TV Asahi in 1979, is one example. It was initially scheduled to run for 52 episodes, with one episode airing weekly for a year. However, due to poor ratings, the story ended after 43 episodes. In other words, it was cancelled. A recent example of a highly successful original anime is Toelame Jai Madoka Magica, which aired in 2011. It was later expanded into novels, anime films, and more. Manga is a high-quality medium that supports the anime industry. The reason why many anime are based on manga is due to the high cost of anime production. If an anime fails, it could result in a significant loss. By using a popular manga as the original work, there is a proven fanbase, which significantly reduces the risk of loss compared to creating an original anime. Of course, there's no guarantee that an anime based on a manga will always be profitable. Nowadays, a typical anime season often consists of 12 episodes. The production costs can amount to several hundred million yen, typically not less than 200 million yen, about $1.5 million. Over 100 staff members are involved in the production. Creating an original anime without knowing whether it will be popular poses a significant risk. Because of contracts with television stations, it's impossible to cancel the production midway. On the other hand, manga has lower production costs and involves fewer people. Entertainment popularity is hard to predict. Manga is more manageable regarding risk and suitable for testing the market. You're likely most familiar with manga in the form of standalone volumes called tankobon. The sales numbers I introduced earlier all pertain to these volumes. However, manga in Japan is also released in other forms. Many manga series start their life being serialized in manga magazines. These magazines are released weekly or monthly, with Weekly Shonen Jump being a popular standout. Other examples include Weekly Shonen Sunday, Weekly Young Magazine, and the monthly girls magazine Chow. Weekly Shonen Jump is published by Shueisha every Monday. The price varies, typically around 290 yen, or approximately 2.15 US dollars. It's pretty thick, consisting of over 400 pages. Currently, there are 20 series being serialized. The most popular series, unsurprisingly, is One Piece. Popular series are privileged to be published at the beginning of the magazine. There are also several other well-known series, such as Jujutsu Kaisen, which has been serialized since 2018, and My Hero Academia, since 2014. Both of these series have been adapted into TV anime. Serialized works in weekly magazines are published one episode at a time, with each episode typically around 20 pages. Since these series are published weekly or monthly in manga magazines, they are referred to as serialized works. These serialized works are then compiled and sold as standalone volumes. Readers who don't usually read manga magazines enjoy them in this format. Fans who want to know the story developments as soon as possible must buy manga magazines. However, not all serialized works end up as standalone volumes. If a series isn't popular, it may be cancelled. Even if a series becomes a standalone volume, it may still be forced to conclude if it can't gain enough support. Such endings are typically not included in the standalone volumes. Popular series usually become standalone volumes after an average of 8 to 10 episodes. The content may be the same as the serialized version, or it may be modified. Spotting the differences between the serialized and standalone versions can be part of the fun for manga fans. Manga serialization is always on the brink of cancellation, making manga creation far from an easy profession. However, because production and staffing costs are relatively low, new works are constantly being created, resulting in intense competition. The manga industry is fast-paced, prone to quick turnover, and relatively easy for newcomers to enter. In the case of Shonen Jump, where 20 different series are published in the same magazine, how do they gauge the popularity of each work? This mechanism is detailed in the series Bakuman, which ran from 2008 for about 4 years. Many manga magazines, including Shonen Jump, include reader surveys. Here's one from Shonen Jump. Readers rate each series. They write their top 3 favorite series in the upper right corner of the survey. They also write down a desired prize. They receive that prize if they win. The survey itself is a postcard. Once completed, it can be mailed directly. The surveys received by the editorial department are tallied, revealing which series are the most and least popular. The results are shared with the manga artists. If their series' popularity drops, they work hard to recover it and avoid cancellation. Unfortunately, series that consistently rank at the bottom get cancelled. This makes you realize how impressive it is that One Piece has maintained its popularity for 26 years. Also, works compiled into standalone volumes and translated into foreign languages are top-notch. Of course, anime adaptations also have a certain level of quality assurance. Therefore, works exported abroad are all high quality, captivating people's attention. Because only interesting works are exported, foreigners may have the misconception that all Japanese manga is high quality. Of course, there are plenty of interesting and not so interesting works in Japan. Furthermore, to enjoy a wide variety of works, there's no choice but to read the original Japanese versions, as some piece is thought incomprehensible to foreigners aren't translated. The manga artist receives a publication fee when a work is serialized in a manga magazine. The actual amount varies depending on the popularity of the manga artist and the publisher. Still, as a guideline, it's about 9,000 yen or about $67 per page. This can sometimes rise to 30,000 yen or about $222 for globally recognized manga artists. In the case of a weekly serial, with 20 pages published each week, this amounts to 180,000 yen. Over 4 weeks, this comes to 720,000 yen. Compared with the production cost of a TV anime, which is around 200 million yen for 12 episodes over a 3-month period, it becomes clear that manga is much cheaper. Over 3 months, the publication fee paid to the manga artist is 2.16 million yen. Of course, there are other costs associated with publishing, but it's still considerably cheaper than TV anime. A manga artist's income is not solely from magazine serialization. Other revenue sources include sales from standalone volumes, adaptations into TV and movie anime, and merchandising. For instance, the 2020 film Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba the movie Mugen Train grossed 40.43 billion yen, or about $300 million, in Japan, making it the highest-grossing film in Japanese history. It also became the highest-grossing film worldwide in 2020. You might think that the original manga creator, Gekoyo Haru, became immensely wealthy from this. Still, according to industry insiders, it's predicted that the actual amount doesn't exceed 10 million yen. The production cost of an animated movie is often hundreds of millions of yen, so it's a very high-risk venture. The companies that finance the production usually receive the majority of the returns. This is a classic case of how capitalism works. Even if the page rate isn't high or they don't become incredibly wealthy from their work being turned into a popular movie, being a manga artist is still a highly sought-after profession. That's because manga provides people with dreams and smiles. It's something that can't be easily bought with money. The manga Bakuman, which was mentioned earlier, ended in 2012. 3 years later, it was made into a live-action movie that was a hit. One of the reasons this work was successful is that many people aspired to be manga artists or have aspired to be one at some point. In a 2022 survey on desired professions among elementary and junior high school students, manga artists, animators, and illustrators were chosen as the top profession, beating out doctors and YouTubers. Being a manga artist is a prevalent profession. So how do you become a manga artist? The answer is depicted in Bakuman, as well. The two main characters submitted their work to a manga magazine publisher. A rival of the main characters won a Newcomers Award for manga artists. These two patterns are both ways to become a manga artist. A third method is to become an assistant to a current manga artist. Creating manga involves a lot of work that can be quite difficult for one person to handle alone. Especially for weekly series, they have to produce 20 pages of manga within a week. Manga artists hire assistants and divide the work of drawing the manga. The manga artist often tells the story and draws the characters, while the rest of the work is left to the assistants. Let's look at an actual manga as an example. Here's a page from Volume 3 of Give My Regards to Blackjack. The assistants draw the background and sound effects, while the manga artist draws the characters. After gaining several years of experience as an assistant, one can become a full-fledged manga artist when the opportunity presents itself. Yaenoue Takehiko, the author of Slam Dunk, started as an assistant. He worked for about 10 months under Hojo Tsukasa, the author of City Hunter. Later, he won the Tezuka Award for his work Kaig da Purple and debuted as a manga artist. The protagonist of Kaig da Purple, Kaig da Rukawa, a basketball team member. Even into the 2020s, Japanese manga continues to be loved. The secret lies in its method of expression. Let's explain this using Give My Regards to Blackjack as a reference. This manga was turned into a TV drama series in 2003 and broadcasted on TBS. In 2004, a 144-minute TV special version was also aired. The protagonist is Sato Eijiro, who works as a resident at a university hospital. This page depicts the scene where the protagonist enters the professor's office. First, in the upper right panel, we see the exterior of the hospital. Then, the protagonist knocks on the door to the professor's office. There's a sound effect here. Once he enters the office, there are close-ups of the protagonist and the professor, with their facial expressions detailed. It's like a scene from a movie. Each drawing is just a single picture, but with a little imagination, it can become a scene from a movie. The method of dividing the page into pictures like movie cuts is called panel layout or komawari in Japanese. Tezuko Samu, one of the pioneers of Japanese manga, established this method through extensive research. The panel layout greatly influences the appeal of the manga. If a manga artist wants to create a sense of speed, He changes the panel layout like this. Depending on what he wants to express, he adjusts the panel layout. For shocking scenes, he conveys the situation first, then depict the facial expression in close-up. If he wants to convey something important, he uses an entire page to draw just one subject. This panel layout has become a characteristic feature of Japanese manga. The currently most popular manga magazine, Shonen Jump, has a circulation of about 1.3 million copies as of 2021. At its peak in 1995, it issued as many as 6.35 million copies. Even now, it continues to publish over 1 million copies every week. Shonen Jump, as the name suggests, targets boys. For instance, during the golden era of the 1990s, masterpieces that swept the nation, such as Yu Yu Hakusho, Slam Dunk, and Rurouni Kenshin Meiji Swordsman Romantic Story, were all serialized in Shonen Jump. In Japan, shonen refers to boys from upper elementary to high school. Many protagonists in shonen's manga are teenagers or students to match the main reader demographic. However, in reality, plenty of work can be enjoyed by girls and those over 20. Attack on Titan, adapted into a TV anime, is also classified as shonen manga. However, with Hollywood's live-action adaptation, it is accepted by a wide range of ages and countries. In contrast to shonen manga, another major category is shoujo manga. Osamu Tezuka's work, Princess Knight, which started serialization in the 1950s, greatly impacted shoujo manga. Sailor Moon, which began serialization in the 1990s, rapidly spread shoujo manga to various Asian countries. Even the director of this video as a boy, he used to watch the Sailor Moon anime. In Japan, these are strictly marketed as shonen or shoujo manga, so some men may feel uncomfortable buying shoujo manga in a bookstore. They might also fear being laughed at by friends if they find out they read the shoujo manga. Aside from categorizing by the reader's age and gender, manga can also be classified by the subject of the work, such as detective or sports. Regarding detective manga, Kindaichi Case Files and Detective Conan are so popular that there's hardly a Japanese person who doesn't know them. In the 2000s, the BL, boys love genre attracted a lot of attention. BL refers to a genre that depicts romantic relationships between men and is mainly supported by young women. Classmates, which began serialization in 2006, is particularly famous and has issued 1.5 million copies across all 9 volumes. The medium of manga allows for the publication of works in various genres. There has been a change in the sales of digital and print manga in Japan recently. From 498 billion yen in 2018 to 612.6 billion yen in 2020, sales rose by as much as 20%, surpassing the sales from 25 years ago in 1995. Although the impact of the coronavirus has played a part, the big hits of the Demon Slayer TV anime and movie animation led to a surge in sales of the manga version. About 100 million copies were sold in just almost a year. Demon Slayer has become a social phenomenon, which hadn't been seen since One Piece. Japanese manga is extremely popular overseas, but in recent years, the digital format of Korean-originated manga format Webtoon has been gaining international popularity. Webtoon manga is created to fit the vertical screen of a smartphone, making it very easy to read on mobile devices. However, Japanese manga is optimized for publication, and converting it directly into Webtoon format takes a lot of work. Remember, one of the characteristics of Japanese manga is its panel layout. Adapting it instantly to a vertical screen could reduce its appeal. Moreover, many Japanese mangas are action-oriented. For expressing battle scenes, horizontal panels or double-page spreads are more suitable. Thanks to the panel layout technique, works like Attack on Titan and Dragon Ball were born and have become global hits. It's exciting to see how far Japanese manga will evolve. Now, what kind of manga are you reading?